Welcome to the Book Pub Podcast. This is a podcast where we sit around and drink a nice cocktail while talking about some authors.
And this we is Madeline and
Leslie.
Yay!
And we're at our 1 year.
Yay!
We'll
Congratulations! We should have balloons and cake.
Yeah, you have the little whistly thingies. Yeah. It's all happening behind us. Wow, look at those balloons. They're all sparkling.
Wow. Ooh, I like that one. It's so big. Is that what you do when you comment on balloons?
I guess so.
I guess so.
I know. And I think at this point I was all like, we're going to totally have a theme thing at the beginning. That's not just me being like, do-do-do, yeah, 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 music, music, music.
That should be a goal for next year.
This is the next goal.
This is the goal. We've been talking about it for a year. We should have an intro. And I'm going to upgrade. Yay for things for the 1 year anniversary. It's like, all sorts of good stuff. So, Leslie, who are you doing today? It is your turn. So
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're doing Charles Bukowski. Mm-hmm. He is the laureate of lowlife. He was
the laureate?
The laureate of lowlife.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
He was a prolific underground writer who used his poetry and prose to depict the depravity of urban life and the downtrodden in American society. He wrote thousands of poems, and the FBI had a file on him for his column in the Los Angeles underground newspaper Open City titled Notes of a Dirty Old Man.
Ooh,
Yeah.
fun. Well, as I was telling you earlier, I have zero idea who this person is. So awesome. I'm going to experience this with our listeners. Unless you know who Charles Bukowski is, then awesome on you for knowing underground poetry.
Yeah.
But it definitely sounds like, this is going to be a traditional Leslie episode. Feel good all the way around. Happy cheers. So to quote this awesome feel good episode that I know we'll totally be having, what are we drinking?
We are drinking a whiskey lemonade with Grand Marnier. And so actually I found that there's like a lot of different like whiskey lemonades and stuff that you can do. Like you can add like rosemary or mint or, all sorts of things. Blueberries, right? Yeah. And then people are like, oh, here's these other types of like alcohol stuff that you can add in for just a little extra, kick and this and that. But I just decided to do Grand Marnier and whiskey and lemonade. Oh, and sparkling water. I did put sparkling water in there. Gotta have a little sparkle in life.
Well, I'm really excited because we had that 4th of July the art fair, and there was a sparkling lemonade, and I downed it so quickly, and I've been kind of actually on a sparkling lemonade kick. Like, it's all I want all day long is just lemonade and sparkling water.
Nice. Yeah.
So I'm actually really stoked on this.
So here we go. And it's a nice summer, we got a summer. We're in LA. Let's pretend we're in LA because it feels like it's LA outside, even though we're not.
Heat wave running through my heart.
So, Chaim.
Yes, it's so hot. Ooh, that's good. Oh, God, that's good. It's so hot that I've been a little wacky lately.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like I'm going to try really hard not to be wacky, but it's hot. My brain does not do well in heat.
No.
I love summer and summer activities, but I don't like summer because of how hot it gets. Give me a nice cold below freezing day in winter any day.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Then you snuggle up because I don't like summer. Like, see, I don't like being hot because then you can't take off your skin and be more cold.
Oh, God, that visual.
But like in the winter, you can always put more blankets on and drink more like hot liquids and like pile yourself up to be like, I'm gonna get warm somehow.
Yeah. Hot showers.
Yeah, and like summer, I just feel like it's like you take a shower and then you're sweating all over again. Yeah. You're like, okay, I guess I'll wait 45 minutes and take another shower so my water heater has water for me.
I feel, and where we live too, it's a little harder because no one has indoor air conditioning. So we're just
it's supposed to be cold here.
Yeah, so we're kind of like that, and then it's like, okay, I'll go swimming in the lakes. But right now,
you have to hike up like 5 miles to get to a nice lake.
Yeah, and right now it's the afternoon zephyrs, so it's insanely windy. So it's just like being up at the lake basin is not the best, but it's still fun. Again, I shouldn't be complaining. We live in a beautiful area. I'm just not happy it's hot.
I know. Maybe we'll have an earthquake while we're podcasting right now. Because we did have a really big one earlier.
Yeah. Leslie and I both discovered that we weirdly find earthquakes fun and like roller coasters. So this is why we're friends. And also, if anyone wants to like build me a pool in my backyard.
Yes.
That'd be cool too. Because I'd be fine with summers if I had like a pool access all the time. Mm-hmm. I'd be totally fine with it.
Oh yeah, I just want a pool all the time.
So anyone want to build me a pool? Thanks.
So, you ready?
Yes.
Ready?
Oh my God, I'm so ready.
Okay, so Henry Charles Bukowski was born shortly after World War I in Germany on August 16th, 1920.
Unfortunate. Already. Yeah. Do not be born in Germany after World War I.
Yeah, if you have the choice.
Just don't do it.
Just don't come back in a former, future, whatever kind of time is irrelevant. Time's a flat circle kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey thing.
Yes, exactly. Don't be born in the 1920s in Germany.
Yes, exactly.
His mother, Catherine, was German, and his father, Henry, was a U.S. Army sergeant who served in Germany during the U.S. occupation. And so they met because Catherine, I put both in here, so now I'm unsure. But they met because her sister was one of Henry's friends. And so they met and fell in love and had a son.
Cute.
So 2 years after Charles was born, they moved to Baltimore, Maryland, due to the fact that Charles's father left the army to be a building contractor in Germany, but because of the stagnant economy at the time there, obviously, he wasn't able to make any money. So, they moved back to America. And then in 1930, the family moves to Los Angeles, where father's family had lived basically their entire lives. And basically, Bukowski will live there for the rest of his life.
Okay, so this is not one of those authors that we have to pay attention, because a lot of authors bounce around a lot.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to pay attention to where they are when you're doing that research. So that's nice.
Yeah, he will
LA.
basically be in LA.
LA.
Mm-hmm. He is a LA child pretty much.
Cool. With a brief stint in other places, but
yeah,
life's in LA.
Yes. So young Charles did not speak English. Or he did, sorry. Young Charles did speak English.
Okay, where is this going?
But he had a thick German accent, which meant that he was teased endlessly by other kids at school.
Oh, how sad.
Yes. And he also, later, when he's a little older, he has all this acne, and so he's just like all just, gross to the other children and stuff.
So I'm gonna say that I automatically know he's not going to become a serial killer, but it sounded like he was potentially on the path to becoming a serial killer, so I'm glad he took the right choices in life.
Yeah, and became an author instead.
Yes, and
those
not
are the
a
options.
serial killer. Like, that's just awful.
On top of that, his home life was absolute shit.
Okay, yep, see,
Yep,
you're good. I'm glad he just became a cool underground artist of sorts.
His dad rarely had work, and he was a very angry and violent person. In Bukowski's autobiography, he details about how his father was always getting into arguments with people, whether it was yelling at his store clerk about something or telling a waitress, quote, "I'll leave, all right, but I'll be back and I'll burn the goddamn place down." So he's fun.
Yeah, sounds like a giant lollipop of goodness. God, I really want candy right now.
It's a lemonade. It makes you feel all young and you want to see on a swing set.
Popsicles and candy at the outside. Can we play tag, Leslie?
Let's have class outside.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
You can't podcast outside because it's hot or because of noise.
Well, noise.
Yeah, that's why the windows are closed, because otherwise we'll hear things. Yeah, everyone should know, podcasters, we suffer through having our windows closed and our air conditioning off so we can make sure you have good sound.
I'm dying over this tangent, right?
Okay, so we're both silly, I guess, right now?
I guess so. I think that he's getting to both of our brains. We suffer as podcasters. Go!
Literally, after I just say that he has like an abusive father, I'm like, do you guys know that we have our windows closed?
And we're crazy. We're also laugh through life.
Yes, that's the key. So his dad's a bad person. Pretty sure also his dad beat him a bunch, and and so it's
feeling really bad about complaining about the heat.
I know.
Now.
I'm like, shoot, that was my next sentence, and now I feel real bad.
Yeah. Sorry, Charles.
So life, is not so great. And so, despite the fact that he was picked on at school for his accent and also his complexion, Charles's parents tended to disapprove of anyone who he happened to make friends with. They would tell him that those kids were too poor, as his parents imagined themselves rich, but they weren't. they just kind of...
Yeah, I have to reiterate. I'm really glad he just didn't become like some American Psycho.
I know, he could have...
He could have easily gone down this road.
Yep. So one day he makes a friend in school, kind of.
Please tell me it's real and not like an imaginary friend.
So Bukowski, quote, "I didn't have any friends at school. I didn't want any. I felt better being alone. During lunch one day, I was approached by a new boy. He wore knickers and was cross-eyed and pigeon-toed. I didn't like him. He didn't look good." That's kind of how he writes things all the time.
God.
So later they're walking home together and this wild pack of first graders are following them and they end up beating the shit out of this kid. And the kid walks home and Charles like listens outside the kid's like window to him, like listening to him like playing like the saddest violin song ever. Yeah.
You can't make this shit up.
No. So that's kindergarten.
Oh my God, stop, really?
Yeah, that's just kindergarten.
I thought we were at least in like 4th or 5th grade.
Nope.
Wow.
But well, let's skip ahead to 13.
Okay.
So
but
now
he befriends a not good looking kid.
Yeah.
Because he played a sad violin.
Yeah.
This Charles is super interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
So when he's 13, he has a couple more friends now. Life is fairly decent besides his insane family and the abuse and all of that. And one day he's at a friend's house when his friend says to him, "Hey, let's go into my dad's wine cellar and drink something." So that's when Bukowski had alcohol for the first time, which he described as, quote, "It was magic. Why hadn't anyone told me?"
I mean, that's sometimes how I feel about wine too.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. He's 13.
I'm 31.
Yeah.
Reverse it. It
Yeah.
makes sense.
Oh, yay! There we go.
But no, at 13, that's sad.
Yeah.
That he's having this opinion.
Yes, because, yeah, it's like, he's like, oh my gosh, you know, you can remove all of the horrible things in your life and just, like, not care about anything. You know, if you drink, it's so great.
Okay, see, now I'm feeling, again, I'm feeling bad about the thing I said, because I say it because it tastes good and
Yes,
you have a good time with friends.
It's magic in that way, yeah.
And but he's saying it because it's a really sad
like,
thing. Again,
avoids my
regretting life
issues.
choices right now.
Maybe
Take it back.
that will be the theme of this one.
Okay, this poor child. And again, he's 13 and drinking. I actually didn't have like my first like actual drink of alcohol till I was 18 and a half.
Really?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, so I can't even imagine at 13.
Nice.
Jeez, that's so
Yeah, no,
young.
I don't think, I think I must have been like 16 or something.
That's more
yeah.
normal. I was not a normal child. I watched a lot of movies in my room. I should be a writer.
Yes, exactly. After graduating high school, he went to Los Angeles City College for 2 years before quitting, or most likely dropping out due to laziness. Bukowski, quote, "I didn't do anything. I laid on the lawn and missed classes."
I simultaneously really like him, but also am afraid of him.
Yes, I have the same feeling about him.
Oh, good.
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have the same feeling about him.
Okay. I'm glad that we're on the same page.
I honestly had a little... Because it's like, I love reading his stuff. I love his books. His books are really... He just writes differently than other people, and it's really easy to read, and he just explores ideas and thoughts in a way that people don't normally do it. But then when I was reading about his life, it was all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, should I not like him? Like, but I do, and I'm like, oh, and I kind of came to the conclusion that I do like him, but it's like he's just very odd. He's just an odd guy.
Yeah.
So we will.
Yeah, which is not bad to be odd, but you can also be kind of a scary odd too.
Yeah, he's a scary odd, but I think he's okay. It's like one of those things where it's like, is this a dog that like the dog has really sharp teeth, but so far hasn't bit anyone. So
And
doesn't
has, like,
mean
a
I'm not
scary
afraid of it.
bark.
Yeah, and has a scary bark. It's that kind of thing. Has a scary bark and sharp teeth, but so far everyone who has owned the dog has said this dog has never bit anyone, has never had any like really close encounters. The dog's great, and you're like, but I don't know if I still want to own it, even though it's really lovable and sweet. You know, like.
And
That's how I feel about Bukowski.
Okay, because I'm feeling that. Because I'm like, oh, dude, totally. Let's go and lay on the grass in the sun and not do anything. Mm-hmm. Fun. but also
like
really, really lazy to like fail out of college by actually not doing anything.
Yeah, literally I did nothing.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, nothing. No, seriously. What do you mean by nothing? No, seriously. I did nothing.
Like, oh, I got, I was just really distracted. I wrote a lot of poetry and I just didn't do the rest of my work.
He's like, no, I did nothing.
No, I did nothing. I looked at clouds all day.
Yeah.
Anyone who can actually even do that is
Yeah. Oh. Maybe. I don't know.
very conflicting emotions.
Yes. So he moves to New York and becomes a writer. This is the start of World War II.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. We're still just only in the 40s.
Yeah.
Or 30s. 30s or 40s.
40.
Like European start or American start?
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, early 40s.
Okay.
So he's, in New York, he's trying to be a writer. He's not able to get anything published. And then New York was expensive, even in the 40s, especially if you're like, don't have any work, you're not really doing anything.
You're cloud watching.
Yes. So he ends up kind of spending a little time here traveling around, mainly to, Philadelphia and New Orleans, and living off a single candy bar every day. And I'm assuming some cheap booze as well.
Probably.
Yeah, but
Since
he would live
said
off of...
that 13 it was magical.
Yes,
He
yes.
probably wants that magic.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely drinking. But yeah, and then other than
then
drinking,
candy bar.
and then one candy bar a day.
So healthy.
Yeah, great diet.
So great.
Hi, my name is Charles Bukowski, and I'd like to introduce you to the candy bar diet. Just make no money and eat only one payday a day, because you're not actually getting a payday. Hey!
But I have a question, Mr. Bukowski.
Yes.
How do you have all your teeth?
Oh, I brush them by lifting up my shirt and just scratching at them.
And that's enough to keep all of the
Also,
bacteria and the
vodka.
sugar? That's fair. Okay. Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Bukowski. Dentists of America, are you listening?
So he even ends up arrested at one point in Philadelphia, not for what you would expect,
Flashing somebody.
for draft evasion.
Oh.
Yes.
No, that is something I would have expected.
Well, I would think that because he's an alcoholic or something, you'd think he's like, for some sort of public, disorderly, whatever.
Like flashing somebody.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But see, nope, for draft invasion. The FBI, what?
Evasion?
Evasion, yes. Evasion.
You said invasion? Like he's invading the draft? I like the invasion one.
Well, he was German. We're like, no, we don't want you.
I love the sound effects that went with it too. Like the invading of the draft.
I was thinking aliens, and then I was like, he's kind of an alien. He's German.
And then it just spiraled. Oh my god, it was amazing. Oh god, that was perfect.
Yeah, so he's held in prison for 17 days, because they're like, hey, you can't do this, and we're going to take you to the military now. And so then they make him take the test to, like, be in the military. Mm-hmm. And he ends up failing the psychological exam. So they're like, never mind, you don't need to go to war.
Oh my god.
They're like, we're good. We don't need you.
Oh wow. He's crazy.
Yeah.
And he's invading the draft. Oh my god, this is great. Yes, please.
So during this time, he was published twice. Once being a short story titled Aftermath of a Legacy of Rejection Slips. And so, yeah.
What? So he
gets a short story published about how he has so many rejections from trying to be published.
Okay.
That's the only story he gets published.
Shortly after them rejecting him from the military,
yeah.
I can only imagine that he was also like, really? I couldn't even, I'm not even sane enough for the military? They take practically anybody.
I know. I guess he's just
got to go write about it.
Yeah, I know, right? That should be the story that he should, I think he wrote about it later, or it comes up later. So it's just like, but at that time he's like, I'm trying to be a writer and I'm in my 20s. And so I'm trying to be all woohoo, and so, I probably being like having his first story be published that is Aftermath of a Legacy of Rejection Slips. He starts to realize maybe the idea that publishing, I'm just totally reading into his head right now, I
mean, that's kind of what we do.
Yeah,
we hypotheticalize.
Yeah, that so like writing a very honest story, writing about like what's going on for yourself right now in that moment, and being that kind of vulnerability, I would say, is probably a better route maybe that's something he, I don't know, because otherwise anything else that he wrote, and a lot of whatever he wrote during this time doesn't exist anymore, because he's essentially a homeless dude. Like that's he's eating one candy bar a day. He's essentially a homeless dude. Like it's not like there's records and boxes. Yeah, exactly. There's just there's not these like bank boxes of like all the stuff that he wrote during this time. It's all pretty much gone. Like he never kept copies of things. If he submitted it to a publisher, the publisher had it and probably threw it away. Like so all because you think typewriter, it's not like there's some hard drive somewhere. It's all gone. So yeah.
Wow. Okay.
He's not going to carry it around in his little sack thing with a stick thing.
Okay.
Hobo sack.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Interesting. What a character.
Yeah. So he has 2 things published. He's like, okay, cool. Kind of doing something.
That's pretty good.
Great.
He's in his 20s. Yeah. So that's a good sign.
Yeah. And then he decides in 1946 that he's going to quit writing and never write again.
Well, okay, that was a delicious drink. I see the connection. It's lemonade. Gotta make lemons out of lemonade. Good night, everybody. Boom.
Yeah, no, he decided to quit writing, and he became what he refers to as, quote, a 10-year drunk. So we're going to skip ahead 10 years.
Oh. Whoa. Okay. Is he in LA this whole time?
He's in LA. I will mention during this because after that little experiment of being in New York, Philadelphia, he goes back to LA, decides to be drunk for 10 years in LA.
Wow.
Yeah, like I'm just gonna be drunk.
What a great way to spend 10 years.
I mean, so it's like between 25 and 35, during those years, as opposed to being like
years.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I'm just gonna be an alcoholic and I'm gonna
do nothing.
live. Do nothing. He had a couple odd jobs. He worked at the post office. He also worked at a pickle factory and a dog biscuit factory and some other places. I really have to throw in the pickle factory because I just like saying the word pickle. And like
pickle's a fun word, and pickles are delicious.
Yeah.
So thanks, Charles. Thanks for making sure that I get my pickles.
Yeah.
That definitely sounded dirty once I said it out loud.
So now it's 1954.
Wow. Okay. Well, the year my dad was born.
And Bukowski suffers from an internal hemorrhage, and he's like close to death while in LA County Hospital. And after this moment, Bukowski decides to get his life together. I'm just kidding. He decides to write poetry instead of writing short stories.
Okay.
But he gets married in 1955 to this other woman who's a poet and his editor, Barbara Fry. And they barely knew each other except for like letter writing because she lived in Texas and stuff. And so then one time they just kind of, I don't know, she's in LA or something. And they're like, let's go to Vegas and get married.
Aw, cutesy.
And he starts his writing career at 35 years old by working for underground Los Angeles papers, Open City, and LA Free Press. He ends up becoming quite popular in the LA scene. Quote, the main character in his poems and short stories, which are largely autobiographical, are usually a down-and-out writer who spends his time working at marginal jobs and getting fired from them, getting drunk, and making love with a succession of bimbos and floozies. Otherwise, he hangs out with fellow losers, whores, pimps, alcoholics, and drifters.
And he's married during this time?
Yep.
Okay.
But they get divorced.
Ah, really? What?
Don't say that one, come on.
Oh my god, that's shocking. How could any marriage survive if theirs didn't?
I know. It was so good.
It was perfection.
They basically
healthy.
like met online and then got married in Vegas. Yeah. So he gets divorced. They get divorced in 1958. And 2 years later, she ends up dying mysteriously in India. And I think that's just an interesting thing to throw in there. It
that's
has nothing
sad, but really interesting.
Yeah.
Mysterious death in India.
I mean, not like he had anything, or possibly could have had anything to do with it. But it's just like, what?
No,
She
it's like
died in India. Yeah. And so there's actually this thing called like the BukowskiForum.com. And there's other like weird things in his life, like some of the other women that he dated and this and that, and people like go through all of these like records and things, and like you can do some like crazy deep dive searching in there. And I found that one kind of interesting. I went down a wormhole right there about other things too.
All in his life.
Yes.
And like the people he dated and everything.
Yeah. And just like anything. I mean, there was even one like forum thread that was all like, what do you think Bukowski's favorite musical would have been? And like,
Wow.
so it's actually also it was kind of fun. But yeah, it's a pretty crazy site. But it's good. The people there
Sounds
seem
like
nice.
perfect for him.
Yeah.
As a following for him.
Yeah, he's definitely got like a huge, like, people are really, really into him. And I'm sorry if I mess anything up, because apparently even they're like, you know, the people in there are like certain biographers of Bukowski have made mistakes, and I don't know. So I'm like, I'm sorry if I make mistakes, because
we're just two girls who do our own research,
We're just
and it's
trying to
not
learn.
perfect. It's just, yeah, we're cocktail conversation.
yeah.
That's who we are.
Then it seems sometime after the divorce, or maybe even during, I don't know, he becomes involved with Jane Cooney Baker, and the two of them are basically soulmates. She possibly had a previous husband that died in a car accident. Again, another one of those fun Bukowski forum things. So like Bukowski, she's a total tragic alcoholic. And so they get along really well.
And again, really healthy relationship right there.
You know, it's kind of, so she's kind of considered one of, you know, the loves of his life, like at least the love of his life in his early life or mid 30s.
One of his many
Yeah.
lives.
And they met at a bar, and
Wow, really?
on the way home, they realized they like both lived on like the same street, and they'd been living on the same street for years. And it's just like, oh, hey. And so they're together for a lot of time, like for a good amount of time. In two of his books, she's romanticized as the female love interest, and also a lot of his like more romantic, he doesn't really write romantic poetry, but in some of his more romantic poetry, she's sort of the, you know, the one he's speaking to, like the more famous ones, the more bigger, like, oh, this is actually really beautiful, like it's her, you know.
Okay.
It's Jane.
Aww.
I think there's even a poem that's like to Jane, you know. So,
Aww.
yeah.
Okay, that's sweet.
So, but then unfortunately Jane died in 1962 from acute alcoholism.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah.
They were only married for, what, like a few years?
I don't know if they were actually ever married, and that's also one of those things that comes up where it's just like, we no certificate and this and that, but men maybe, and whatever. I don't know. It's a whole thing.
Okay.
And but yeah, they weren't together very long. He's totally devastated, you know, after she dies, and he starts cranking out. He writes a lot already, but he's like cranking out a lot of stories about death and, you know, and all of that kind of, you know, poetry. Just like darker stuff. Mm-hmm. He goes through his dark period. But 2 years later, he's living with another woman, Frances Smith. She's also known as France I, which is basically, you know, like if you take the word Francis, so you take FRANC and then capital E, capital Y, capital E. France I.
Interesting choice. Okay.
She's an artist.
Again, couldn't have seen that one.
We're in the 60s.
No, I'm just like a normal housewife, and I bake like cookies, but I prefer to be called France I.
Yeah. Who he refers to fondly in a poem as, quote, old Snaggletooth. She's also an underground poet person, and they have a daughter, Marina Louise Bukowski, together. He also says good things about her, not just calling her old Snaggletooth. Like,
seems like a term of endearment.
Yes, probably it was a term of endearment in some way.
In his way.
Yes.
In the Charles way.
Yeah.
This character, this human, is reminding me of Jeff Lebowski.
Thank you so much for saying that, because I've been thinking that all freaking day. It was like one of those things that came to me where I'm like, oh my God, did the Coen brothers base Big Lebowski like off of Charles Bukowski?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Bukowski? Is Bukowski like Lebowski? Like,
even say that together, it's hard.
I know. I was
Bukowski,
like, oh,
Lebowski.
Yeah, I did not look it up because I just kind of wanted to like play in that world with that idea. But and if you watch the YouTube videos of Bukowski, like you can get some real Lebowski vibe. Like, you know, he's got like the tiny little like cigarette, maybe it's a joint thing, and he's just like all relaxed. Like, you know, it's.
And the fact that he like was so lazy.
Yeah,
and like,
you know, yeah, his whole philosophy in life is just don't do anything. Just don't try. Don't do things. Like, why do things? Like, you know, doing things is overrated. Just let's just hang out and chill and drink and do what you want to do. Like, yeah.
And then Mauve, how she was like the crazy artist that comes swinging in naked to do some like crazy tribal art something.
Yes.
I'm like, that's Francis.
Oh my gosh. And it's probably all of his like main girlfriends. They're all hilarious. Crazy artist people. It's pretty, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think there is a lot to argue there in favor of, you know, the Coen brothers knew about, maybe read Bukowski and were really into Bukowski, and they like took an artistic license and played with it.
Subconscious.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Francis, their child.
Yes, they have a child. He says about her, quote, "When I think of her life and compare her to other lives, more dazzling, original, and beautiful, I realize that she has hurt fewer people than anybody else I know. She had some terrible times where maybe I should have helped her more, for she is the mother of my only child. But like I said, has hurt fewer people than anybody I know. And if you look at it like that, well, she has created a better world." So he's a sweetie. He's a sweetie, even if he doesn't always show.
Soft part for her.
Yeah. It's also during this time that some of Lebowski's first books of poetry began to be published. And I'm not going to go through all of his publications because he technically published over 60 books.
I mean, you said thousands of poems, so
yes,
yeah,
over 60 books.
Wow.
So basically,
go to the library and check one out.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he's in a good place for being this like dirtbag guy making some money as a writer, even though not enough. Like he even, you know, goes and is still working at the post office and crap like that, you know. So it's in 1967 he gets his column titled "Notes of a Dirty Old Man," and it started at Open City paper, but after that paper shut down, his column was revived in other publications because people just loved it. And they loved hearing about, like, you know, this different side of Los Angeles, not just like entertainment world and all of that, you know, and his life and everything.
That's super cool. Especially working for like the post office where you're actually like seeing so many like real people.
Yes, he actually talks a lot about how like, oh, if you're a writer, you shouldn't be hanging out with other writers because it's like, how do you actually know what's going on in the world?
Yeah. No, I like that. That's cool.
In the late 1960s, when Bukowski is now almost 50 years old, this guy, John Martin, starts up Black Sparrow Press solely so he can publish Bukowski's work. Before this point, Bukowski was just publishing in magazines and in little like these little chapbooks. So it's like 8 to 12 pages and there's only like 100 copies and stuff. But John Martin was convinced that Bukowski was going to be the next Walt Whitman, and he was going to help like spread his work to others. So he's like, I'm going to work all day doing this, and then the evenings I'm going to have my publishing company where basically Bukowski is like my only client for now.
Wow.
So basically he goes to Bukowski. He's like, we're going to do this. Tell me how much, like, what is the minimum amount that you need to live off of like every month? And, because he's like, I'm going to pay. So I'm going to, you know, so they figure out like $100. And so John Martin tells him like, I'm going to pay you $100 a month every month for the rest of your life, as long as you quit all of your other jobs and you just write. And I'm going to publish your stuff.
But that's minimum. That doesn't seem very like.
So, and
I mean, nice, but at the same time, like, what if it's
plus like royalties and anything, if anything comes from all of this. But essentially, like, what is the minimum that you need to live off of so that you don't have to work these other jobs? Yeah, so that kind of thing.
But it can grow from there.
Yeah, exactly. So then once we get you so I just want you you should just be writing all the time. You shouldn't be working at the post office anymore. You know, what's the minimum that you need to live off of? I will pay you that money, and you just spend all of your time writing. Yeah. So
okay, cool. I mean, like, obviously it's cool to like live on your like bare minimum. I'm all for that. I didn't mean it like that. I meant like if he's becoming successful and this one guy's benefiting from
Oh,
his
no.
success.
It's more just like, yeah, so until we become successful, what do you need? And I will just give you that amount of money for now. And with the idea that, eventually we're going to make all this other money,
together.
like, yeah, so that you don't have to be, doing a 9-to-5 thing and like spending your life doing the things that you don't actually want to be doing.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
So
that would be amazing.
yeah, right.
I'd take someone and be like, I'll give you bare minimum expenses and I'll
for
live
you
off
to
of that forever.
Yeah, and if you and then for you to like create your art, to do the thing that you really want to do, and it's like, okay, let's go, like
Done.
And so as Bukowski wrote, quote, I had one of two choices: stay at the post office and go crazy, or stay out here and play at Ryder and starve. And I have decided to starve.
Wow.
So
cool.
he was like, I'm in.
Do it. How's that?
So it's like he quits his job. He like his last day at the post office was December 31st, I think 1969. And so he's like, so January, 1970, first month of him working for John Martin or whatever. And it was like at the end of January, beginning of February, Martin gets a call from Bukowski where he says, okay, I got it. Come get it. Martin's like, what are you talking about? And Bukowski tells him, you asked me to write a novel, so I wrote one. And he's like, wait, he wrote a novel in like 1 month? He's like, yeah, fear can accomplish a lot.
Wow, I love that. Holy crap. I feel like that's been the motto of my life. Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
So Bukowski's first novel was titled The Post Office.
Okay.
Yeah, where he introduces his literary alter ego, Henry Chininsky. The novel is more of a memoir than fiction, and that's a trend that will continue throughout his career. And it's the start of a string of successful novels for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So he's building. He's got it. He's going on.
Yeah.
He's now the writer.
Yes.
And he's like, this is the 60s now at this point, right? Kind of late
70s.
50s. Oh, it's the 70s.
Yeah.
So he's older.
He's in his 50s. Yeah.
That's where I got 50s.
Yes. He's in his 50s. He's in his 50s.
I want to
in
take
his
this
70s.
moment that anyone who is an artist and they're struggling and you're about to be like, I'm never going to make anything of myself. If he's doing this in his 50s, there is hope.
Yeah.
There's always hope.
Oh, yeah.
Age is but a number. Don't let the time ticking by, like, freak you out. But also, direct quote, fear can
accomplish a lot.
Fear can accomplish a lot. So at the same time, be afraid. But don't be afraid.
No. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, so things are going well. Eventually, Martin will start paying Bukowski $10,000 every 2 weeks,
Whoa.
plus whatever he owes him at the end of the year. Yeah. Yeah,
Louise.
Bukowski ends up dying a multimillionaire.
Wow. Wow.
That's how, like, hugely popular he became.
Cool. How have I've been really bad about poetry until like 2 years ago. So yeah.
And yeah, well, and then his novels, it's all in that dirtbaggy world, and so it's different. It's not, I feel like I was only introduced to him because I heard other people who are more into that kind of stuff talk about him. And then I was like, oh my god, this is really good. I mean, yeah, because what I bought was like, You Are So Alone. And what's the name of my?
I can grab it really fast. I can do it really quick. You Get So Alone at Times That It Just Makes Sense.
Yes, yeah.
By Charles Bukowski.
And that was just
that's a book of poetry?
It's a book of poetry. And it just like, I thought it was like a funny title. I think I bought it at the beginning of the pandemic and I'm like, that's funny. I'm going to buy this because I feel very alone. And
oh my God, even the picture looks like Jeff Lebowski in the book.
Oh my God, it does.
Wow.
Collins.
No, I'm super in love.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I love this. And
and it's like, and I loved it. I think it's like, it's different. It's not like normal poetry. It just feels like somebody's talking to you. I think that's what's kind of fun about him is it feels very basic but also like it sparks a lot in the imagination with it's genius. I don't know. He's very interesting.
yeah.
So his first 4 novels are all written in the 70s, mostly covering his earlier years as a kid or as a rough-hewn alcoholic youth in the mid-century Los Angeles culture. except for his novel titled Women, which was published in 1978. And by this point, his alter ego, Henry, is now a celebrated writer, kind of like he is, who speaks about the many relationships that he has had and how poorly he's treated women and pushed the good ones away due to his own bad behavior.
I love that. Like ownership.
It's interesting. Yeah, and then and he kind of, and like his Henry, or him, and also he's also sometimes Bukowski's, his nickname was Hank at times. So, so it's this Henry, Hank, Charles, whoever it is.
The alter ego, definitely seeing that theme there.
Yeah, and so it's like kind of like this whole. Well, maybe because I was abused as a child, this is why I've done things and felt worthless all my life. And then I didn't really do anything in my 20s and 30s. And now I'm this like famous author, or my character is now this famous author. And so now he feels this need to take advantage of all these women because he's never experienced any of that when he was younger. It's.
Again, it's just ownership, like not in a bad way. It's just like, I'm owning up to my life.
Yeah.
And just being like, I'm not going to like try and like hide from it or sugarcoat it. This is my life and this is the mistakes I've made and this is the journey I've done. I think it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and I think, so I haven't read Women. I've heard people who've just read Women, that's the only novel they read by Bukowski, will absolutely paint him as being like a misogynist. But I think it's, which kind of makes sense if it's like, if he's talking so sort of open and freely and it's just like, like this vomiting of like all of your ideas about all of your relationships and all of your stuff, then like but still written in this almost like Ernest Hemingway, like terse sort of way, there's going to be a lot of like, this guy says some things that are not so great, but like, I think it's like, one, we're looking at something that's written like 40, 50 years ago. And we're going to put the lens of today onto it. And I think a lot of the times we criticize the stuff from back then because we are disappointed that nothing has changed today and that it still kind of is like a misogynistic, sexist world. And so we're all like, oh my God, why are people still backtracking to this stuff? When shouldn't we be looking at things that are written now that could be a little bit more hopeful about how people can be, because like, I feel like sometimes literature or movies or things that are written today are so much less like sexist and misogynistic than like the way the world actually is right now. And we tend to, and so that's why we get disappointed with like past authors, I guess, and things.
Yeah, I like that. I preach that.
And then again,
you can't hate on the past.
Yeah.
Because of today's imperfections.
Yeah. And, and I just feel like
the past is the past. You gotta let it go.
Yeah.
You just can look at it objectively, but
yeah,
you're projecting if you're sitting there going like, well, the past sucked. Well, now sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just because like maybe we have art that's a little bit more like, higher level, like all the characters are just like thinking on a higher level and less like, flawed and things, like doesn't necessarily mean that it's like we as a society are in a better place. Like we're still in that place of like people treating each other poorly and being, racist and sexist and all of that, consciously or unconsciously on a regular basis. And so it's like, I don't know, it like we have to forgive past art for things. And also I feel like I personally feel that like very rarely is it that somebody is totally unaware that like when they wrote this stuff, especially when they're writing this like memoir, autobiographical fiction kind of way, that like that they are unaware of their flaws, like they're writing those flaws in there purposefully to show like a side of humanity that's not regularly shown in fiction.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm seeing is I'm like you're opening up your arm and bleeding on the page, as someone said, like Vonnegut or something, and I think that's what these people are doing. So it's like, yeah, I know I come across like a crazy asshole, like to these women or to other people of other races or other countries or anything like that. It's like, I'm but because like if I want it to look perfect, then I would have made my character, who's my personality, be perfect, but I don't, obviously I want to show that I'm not perfect. No one's perfect, you know?
Yeah.
And it's okay to not be perfect.
Yeah.
Not that you have to be me, but like, you know, it's okay. And doesn't this say something about a story about a person, you know, yeah.
Yeah. I could not agree more. It was very, very beautifully stated.
Thank you.
I liked it.
Because that's the area where I kind of struggle with Bukowski when I was like reading about him. I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, you know what though? It's like by showing this, by saying, oh, here's the shit way that I treated women. Here's the shitty things that I've actually done that I feel like actually no one today, if they were to write and they did those same things, like would actually ever admit to. Like I feel like he admits to a lot of things that are really awful. And I don't think guys today would admit to it because of the whole you know, the way the world is right now. And I think it's really kind of incredible. It shows a little bit more of this like vulnerability, you know, and like this masculine kind of vulnerability or something like that, that I think is kind of, you know, somewhat, you know, admirable.
Yeah, no, I would definitely say so. And it's like you said, by saying it, it's like this self-actualization that makes it that he's like, I've done the best I can, and it's in his own way apologizing. But you don't get that today.
Yeah.
A lot of these memoirs, these, you know, masked whatever, it's kind of like, I might have done some stuff, but a lot of stuff was done to me. So it doesn't come off as this like, like kind of self-actualization, this apology, this like, oh my gosh, it's more of just like, oh, poor me. And it's like, ugh, no.
Yeah. You
need to be aware to be able to write. Nowadays, this is what's happening. And I feel like back then, doing that might have been like, I don't know. It's interesting. I'd like to do like a study. I mean, from these like misogynistic points of view.
Right. Yeah. Where it's like, here's these things. I'm mortified. And so.
Yeah. Which takes a lot of balls.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So by the late 70s, Bukowski, he's now like ultra famous.
Apparently, he's ultra
famous.
A full like he's got his own Reddit.
Yes, he's got his own website where people are talking about things. Not just it's like a web. It's not just a Reddit, you know, like a subject.
Not like a subreddit. It's more
like
like
a
its
.com.
own Reddit. Yes.
Yes.
It's its own
BukowskiForum.net or .org or whatever. Yeah.
He's clearly famous. I've got to be better on my poetry game.
He's famous in his own lifetime. To the point that like Bono becomes like a fan of his. A young 20-something Sean Penn is like super obsessed with him to the point that they actually both become like really close friends. And Sean Penn was like one of the pallbearers at his like funeral and everything. They were like really close. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
Interesting that it's Sean Penn.
I know. And I'm like, really? Yeah. And there's even, I guess at one, you know, it was like Sean Penn at one, you know, was dating Madonna or something like that, you know, in the 80s. And Bukowski has some quote of like, oh, how I love Sean. He's so great, but I don't know about his girlfriend. It's like, what is going on here?
What is happening? Oh my God. That's interesting. Especially with that book.
Yeah.
That discussion we just had. Okay.
I know. I'm like, I feel like I'm living in an alternate universe. This is weird. Like,
yeah, that sounds.
Bukowski, Madonna, what?
Can't even put it. Nope. Not. Wrap my head around it.
Yeah. So in 1976, he meets Linda Lee Begley. I want to say is her Begley.
Sure.
And she's this total hippie. She's into this like sort of spiritual semi-Buddhism kind of, you know, religious-y thing. She's a former rock and roll groupie and an owner of a health food store.
Love her.
Yeah. She's like also like very strong and very smart, just like a total badass woman. Essentially, she's like the personification of the 70s. Oh yeah, like 70s LA, really. Mm-hmm. If you turn 70s LA into a person, it's Linda Lee.
Yeah. And I hope that this health food store is also a co-op. So
I mean, she probably would have done that, like
right.
And now she and this like underground poet writing some like, you know, sort of silly, or not silly, but just like dirt baggy versions of himself in these novels, and his, like that's her new man. And so after 2 years after meeting each other, they he moves from his like rundown East Hollywood like shack that he had been living in forever,
even as a famous person.
Yeah, even as like a son.
Oh,
yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, so he'd been living.
He's like still like, I'm never gonna let the dirtbag die.
Yeah,
I love it. Oh my god,
like
I would
he's
so
thrifty.
hang out there. I would so hang out there.
Oh yeah, like John Martin, his publisher, talked about how there was this like gross ass couch on the front porch of his house that he was like, I will never sit on this. And like one day he like comes over to Charles Bukowski's house, and there's these like two girls sitting on the couch waiting for Bukowski to come home, and they're like, we traveled all the way from Holland to fuck Charles Bukowski. And she's like, what? Okay.
Oh my god. Hi, this is the Big Lebowski.
Yeah, exactly.
Life is so weird, but so cool, but so like, I don't know how to feel about it, because it's like, at one point you could have been a serial killer. It's like, what the hell's happening?
Yep. So yeah, so he finally moves from East Hollywood to San Pedro, the San Pedro area, which is like harbor area. And Linda kind of moves in with him a little bit, like she's kind of still doing her own thing. Like she's not,
she hasn't given up her apartment completely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Bukowski starts to write a screenplay about his life titled Barfly. But of course, just because he's like dirtbag poet successful doesn't mean that he's like Hollywood movie, ready, or they're interested in him. So they're kind of like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
But there's this one director, Barbet Schroeder. He's like totally in, and he wants to make this movie, and so he needs kind of some help raising funds to turn Barfly into a movie. And so he's like, let's do like a documentary about you.
So this is definitely the days before GoFundMe.
Oh my god, it totally would have happened that way this way. Instead, it was more like, let's make a documentary and we'll sell the documentary and use the fund. And the documentary, we'll do it, cheap as hell. We're just going to follow you and Linda around and like be like, look, here's Charles. Basically like early reality TV show, but before there's even really TV shows. There is TV, but not really.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Yeah. So they're going to make this documentary. This is when, again, to mention the idea of misogyny and Charles Bukowski, because I think this is a moment where people really, really, they use this. There's a clip on YouTube from the documentary where Bukowski is kicking Linda like off the couch and like yelling at her, and they're like, oh, he's definitely a misogynist, because like clearly it looks like he's capable of like hitting a woman, or wants to hit women. And
wait, like a playful, like, you're sitting too close to me.
Oh no. It's like it's kind of disturbing. Like when I watched it, I was like, when I watched it just as like the one thing that like this one clip, quick little clip that you find, it is kind of disturbing, because it's like they're just kind of talking and they're both sort of saying something, and I'm like, I don't really know what they're talking about. And then all of a sudden he's just like yelling and kicking her off the couch and just like, fuck you, you whore. And like, it's like, whoa, what is, but then you watch other things and like the longer version of it. And the other, and the thing to keep in mind is too, that it's like, that probably actually happened. That probably was actual emotions happening in a moment and stuff. But like, he's with this guy making this documentary, like, so they can fund a movie that he wrote. Like, if they didn't want that to be in anything, it wouldn't be anywhere. Like, if
they would have cut it,
that would be cut, that would be destroyed, that would not exist at all.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So, yeah, and
because it's not like, oh, I want to just do a Charles Bukowski
documentary and I'm following you around, and too bad you don't have permission to tell me I can't, use this.
No, this is a guy who's like, no, we're just using this as the GoFundMe.
Yes, exactly. It's the GoFundMe thing. I mean, it's a really, like, there's like a bunch of episodes or something, and there's a lot of stuff, and this is only like 30 seconds out of the whole thing. But it's something people now use to be like, look, Bukowski wrote all this like stuff and he was very misogynistic, and here's proof that that's the way that he was in his real life, because here he is like kicking his girlfriend off the couch and calling her a whore, and so therefore he must actually be, this huge misogynistic person. But you watch the whole kind of thing, and I think, and Linda Lee talks about it later on in life and stuff, that like they were in kind of a volatile place in their relationship, because again, she's living there, but she's not always living there. And she was, she's kind of this free spirit, and she's all like, she used to be like a rock and roll groupie, and like, and she was probably maybe like the only woman or the first woman in his life who like really, really like cared about him and loved him a lot, but at the same time was willing to tell him things like, why do you let yourself to be pushed around by other people? Like, you're a fucking idiot for doing that. And like, and kind of sort of push him on sort of some of his other flaws, like, being really soft and kind, and, which he was, like he's a soft, kind, sweet kind of person. That's how everyone describes him. And she's, and he'd be like, oh my gosh, these other women have taken advantage of me. And she's just like, well, then don't let them, like, yeah. And so, yeah, so there's probably like some projection and things that were happening there. But she says in this later documentary about how like after that moment, you can never, treat me like that again. She says like, quote, you can scream your ass off at the clouds and yourself, but I'm not going to take it anymore. And yeah, she never did. They actually ended up getting married in 1985, and she stayed with him until the end of his life. Aww. So yeah, like,
okay.
So that's where I'm like, there's a thing on the internet that everyone passes around as
like a strong,
but it's
independent woman. So
you watch her in documentaries and stuff, and it's like she's such a badass. And like, and if this was like the only moment, then it's like maybe that would be okay to. I feel like if he was actually abusive all the time, they wouldn't show even like one little thing of that, And if this is like the only time he acted sort of like a petulant child, because that's really the way I see it. It's not like he's like, I'm this big man and I'm insecure about my masculinity and now I gotta beat you up or whatever, like it was like him kicking her and being like, get out, or whatever. And it's like, it's more like he's just this like sad kid in this like old man body.
Yeah, I mean, not okay to still do.
No, it's still disturbing, but it's still like, this isn't like...
If she chose to still be with him, I believe that there was like some sort of redemptive thing part of it. Like, that no one had called him out, and it's like, you can't do that.
Yeah, I kind of believe her that that's the only thing that ever happened. That was... And because she, up until that point, before he starts kicking at her, she is constantly like... not arguing back at him, but being like, hey, people treat you badly. Don't let them treat you badly. Like she's being very forceful with him in a very kind way. And so I feel like if then he's going to be an asshole to her, she's going to be like, you are never doing that again. Like, I will leave your fucking ass. Like, if you do that again, And so I do believe that, that was probably a moment, Okay. I'm sure everyone has moments, and so I feel okay about him still.
Okay, yeah. We've talked about how he's very polarizing in our own brains, and so it's like he's still very polarizing.
Yeah. He's the dog with the big scary teeth, but I'm pretty sure he's not gonna... Maybe he like nipped at my toes, but I don't think he's gonna bite me, Like, I don't think this dog's gonna eat me while I'm sleeping,
Yeah.
So...
Well, like, he went and did the whole, like, I went to go bite you, but I obviously didn't lunge and actually bite you. Did the whole, like, nip, but no actual contact was made.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's definitely been those stray dogs.
You do not do that again.
Or not stray dogs. Those, like, adopted dogs from, like, shelters that do the whole, like, nip. And you say, no, you do not do that again. Mm-hmm. But no skin was broken. No, nothing. It was just more of just, like, the act is kind of scary.
Yeah, I think that's Bukowski.
But again, if it's your husband, make sure that it's, like, that's the one and only time.
Yes.
If it's a dog from a shelter, you can kind of keep trying to work with the dog.
Yeah, it doesn't speak English. It doesn't understand. Yeah. It can't go to therapy.
It can't seek the help that it needs.
Yeah.
You are the help that it needs.
Yes. So after the documentary, they make the movie Barfly. It stars Mickey Rourke as Hank's alter ego and Faye Dunaway, and it was produced by Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Big stars right there.
Yeah. I've
stars.
only seen the trailers because I try not to like watch things before I like read, you know.
Yeah.
And it looks really good. It looks real good for like, yeah. I was like, damn, like I need
Mickey
to watch
Rourke,
this
too?
movie.
Like, damn.
Yeah.
Also, probably better with age, too.
Yeah.
Sean Penn would have been too young.
Well, Mickey Rourke was really young back then. So it's, young Mickey
I'm
Rourke.
picturing current
young,
Mickey Rourke.
No. Yeah,
Who
yeah.
also would have been great.
Yeah, it's probably,
Who
yeah,
just
he could
was like,
play
fuck
he
it
could
on
play
the Masked Singer and just
Bukowski all
like
over
started
again.
undressing randomly.
No, yeah, it's young Mickey Rourke, which I was like, holy shit, he was hot once? I didn't even realize. And like, and,
Yes.
and yeah, and it looks real good. We're gonna have to find it and watch it because it looks
down.
real fun.
I'm down.
Yeah, and it's got his like Bukowski wit to it. Yeah, it looks like a great movie. But the experience making the whole film was not great for Bukowski because in general, he didn't like being around people. He liked doing his own thing and had his own routines. And with people, he felt the need to be very concerned with like how happy and comfortable everyone is and, you know, making sure everyone's in a good place. And it just kind of, it would upset him. It's probably one of the reasons why he was like more of a drinker because he felt like he needed to like have that social lubrication and all of that. He says, quote, "The more I think about humanity, the less I want to think about them."
Yep. Yep. Yep.
His publisher, John Martin, said that people frightened Bukowski and that during the filming of the movie and all the parties and things that were happening afterwards, he would like start drinking a lot just to like deal with all of the
Social
stuff.
anxiety stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Bukowski ends up writing this book called Hollywood. And it's all about the whole absurdity of the whole entertainment Hollywood experience that he encountered making the movie. And he has like very thinly veiled like pseudonyms in it. Like Francis Ford Coppola becomes Francis Ford Loppola.
Wow.
Werner.
That is so thinly veiled. Oh my god. That's like not even like, I can't even be sarcastic about how thinly veiled that is. That's just like so like, whoa.
Werner Herzog, the documentary filmmaker, he becomes Winter Herzog.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's so bad. That's like one of those situations where you're like, I'm suing you for this one. You couldn't even like try and just like come up with something clever.
Yes. So yeah. I mean, he has other names, but those are the ones that I had to like pull out. I was all like, dude, really?
Yeah, right? Oh my god. That is so funny.
So he hates people, but he did love cats.
Oh, yay!
Just the musical. No, I'm just kidding. No, he loved cats.
Aww.
He would basically adopt like every cat he saw, all the stray cats, anything. He was like all of them.
You're coming to snuggle me.
Yeah, exactly. And
my God,
he wrote a ton of poems about cats. And actually, I think even, I don't know, like 10 years ago or something like that, somebody compiled all of his cat poems and just published a book of just like Bukowski on cats. Yeah.
I want this poem. This book.
Yes.
Oh my god, I would read them all to Maggie and Darwin.
I know.
She's like, gather around, children. Because yes, I call my cats children. Gather around, children. We're going to read poems.
Yeah.
Maggie would just be like, no.
Well, though, he says about cats, quote, "They complain but never worry. They walk with a surprising dignity. They sleep with a direct simplicity that humans just can't understand. When I'm feeling low, all I have to do is watch my cats and my courage returns."
Oh, Maggie, I'm coming. Oh, Maggie's on the deck, and she's just like poked her little head out on the deck, and I just go, "What are you doing up there?" And she just starts meowing back at me. So then I got into it, and she and I did the full balcony scene together.
Oh, you did Romeo and Juliet with her?
Yes,
Nice.
and she meowed 90% of when she needed to.
Nice.
It was very, it was amazing. I wish someone was recording us right then. So yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, they're just, they're complicated. And I think there's nothing wrong with being complicated,
Oh.
So the last novel he wrote was this absurd detective fiction called Pulp. which is like, just a play off of Pulp Fiction novels and things. And so he just called it Pulp. And, this detective gets in like really like absurd situations that like no one would be able to get out of. And he's just like, oh, now you're out of it, And so it's just a play off of everything. It's probably it's the only time it's not his autobiographical like his pseudonym or his his persona. It's just its own weird thing. It's the last thing he published. It was 1994, right before he died of leukemia on March 9th, 1994. He was buried in Green Hills Memorial Park in Rancho Palos Verdes with his most famous piece of writing advice written on his gravestone. Quote, "Don't try."
Yes.
And that's Charles Bukowski.
Don't try. Into it.
Yeah, that's his life.
I love it. Stop trying, people.
I do have you do fun facts, and then I every once in a while do quotes, and I have some quotes.
Okay, I'm into it.
The first quote I have is, "We're all going to die, all of us. What a circus. That alone should make us love each other, but it doesn't. We're all terrorized and flattened by trivialities. We are eaten up by nothing."
It's a little bleak, but okay.
I don't know. There's something kind of positive in there. Like, hey, we're all going to die. Why don't we love each other more? I mean, he's saying it in the negative, but then you read it in the negative. And then you're like, oh my gosh, yes, we should love each other more. We are all going to die. Why do I care about like what somebody posted on Instagram? Like,
okay,
we should just love each other.
I'm into it. Let's all stop trolling each other on like the social media platforms.
Yeah. Did you know that this person did? It's like, oh my God, let's just all love each other. We're all dying. Like,
yeah.
We're here to drink beer. We're here to kill war. We're here to laugh at the odds and live our lives so well that death will tremble to take us.
Oh, I like that one. Oh, I like that one a lot.
And then, some people never go crazy. What truly horrible lives they must live.
Oh, yeah. I will. Cheers to that, Bukowski.
Yes. Oh, and one of my favorites is... I use this one a lot. "Find what you love and let it kill you."
Oh, dark, but like it.
Yeah, just let it consume your life. Yeah. And that "Great art is horseshit" by Tacos.
Ah! Oh my God! That has to be on a t-shirt!
I know, right?
How is that not on a t-shirt?
Definitely should be a t-shirt. "Great art is horseshit" by Tacos.
Oh my God. What?
And,
okay.
And it's like a picture of some like, I don't know, like Leonardo da Vinci thing or something, and like, tacos.
Yeah, right? It just needs to be like a cartoon taco.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like done in like some artist style or something like that. Like that. It could be like done in cubism, like great artist horseshit by Tacos, or great artist horseshit.
Like those friendly, like cartoony, like terrible, like actual considered art kind of a thing.
Did you just Google to see if it was already on a t-shirt?
Yeah.
Is it on a t-shirt?
I'm gonna buy it right now.
It's on a t-shirt?
No, I'm looking. It's just like
we can design our own.
It's from A Drinkable Feast.
Oh my gosh. What? There's a website called A Drinkable Feast?
It's not a website. Friends. It's called Alibi. ALIBI.com.
Hi, they should give us money right now.
Yeah, we're giving you a shout out for free. And it just says A Drinkable Feast,
Holy
Charles Bukowski.
Interesting.
Like a movable feast, but a drinkable feast?
I mean, that makes more sense to me. A drinkable feast. He's totally a drinkable feast.
He is.
I love this.
I'm not seeing it on a shirt. Oh, no, I am seeing it on a shirt. There's a shirt.
Great art is horseshit by Tacos.
Yeah, but it's kind of scary. I don't want it to be this scary.
No. I want it to look like fine art, like a taco done in, some Renaissance-y or even
I like
cubism.
The idea of cubism.
Yeah, and then the quote at the bottom saying like, "Great art is horseshit by Tacos." Charles Bukowski. Let's make our own shirts. Let's make our own shirts and we can sell them.
We definitely need some sort of like graphic artist dude that can like make our merch for us, because like damn,
Yeah, we can have some fun book art.
Yeah. For
Lit
t-shirts
art.
and stuff.
I'll totally buy one. So,
Cool. Well, thank
yeah.
you for teaching me all about Charles Bukowski. Knew nothing, and now I feel like a failure for not knowing him.
Oh, it's all good. I feel like I didn't really learn about him until last year, and so
I'm into it.
and I felt like a failure not knowing who he was either. Actually,
Like, this guy's crazy cool.
Yeah, and I'm like, what?
But also, like, how do I feel about him? But, like, he's crazy cool. But, like,
Yeah.
what?
And like LA, I mean, he's just
He's right there.
He's LA history that is not movie history, and I think that's really really fun and cool. And I think we need to like celebrate more of those kind of
Because
people, because LA otherwise only exactly, it's more than just film, and I think it's just so insaturated with that history, and it's like, come on, let's look at more of the other fun shit that goes on in LA.
I'm super into it. Cool. Well,
Yeah.
was there more of a connection with the fact that it's just like a sparkling lemonade with a shot of whiskey? Totally hot summer LA vibes with Charles Bukowski.
Yeah, I wanted to. So I read that he really just drank wine. I mean, well, he drank a lot of wine. He would drink like 4 bottles in a day or something like that.
Oh, geez,
yeah.
Whoa.
But it was red wine, so heart healthy.
I mean, he died of leukemia, so
apparently it was okay for his heart.
Yeah. He didn't die of a heart
We are
attack.
not condoning that, but
Yeah. No, not condoning, but at least it's like,
yeah. I mean,
he didn't die of like some sort of like
alcohol
alcohol-related death.
I mean,
died of
I guess he had
leukemia.
other people in his life who died from alcohol and stuff, so he drank wine. Like, that was his big thing, was wine. And I'm like, I'm not going to do some weird red wine, cocktail thing. I just didn't feel, I guess I could have done Sangrina or something, but like, I was just like, yeah. So I was feeling more like, what's something that I get? For some reason, when I think of alcoholic authors, I always think of whiskey. Like, that's just kind of what I think of. And
you have mentioned that like a lot of times when it's like, oh, like we're talking and it's like this alcoholic author, and you're like, oh, do something and just like a shot of whiskey on the side. It's like,
yeah,
you really associate whiskey with alcohol.
I guess I don't know. Like, people are more weird. Like, people who aren't even alcoholics, like I feel like people are more weird on whiskey than they are on other liquors and stuff. So, or they just more display a lot of more inebriation vibes to me.
Okay.
So I just really associate that. And then I guess I want like something, I think of LA, sunshine and lemonade, yellow, sunshine, happiness,
sparkling,
and sparkling. And it's like, and it's like, he's got this sourness and he's got this like dirty old man. It's the other thing with whiskey, like dirty old man kind of, vibes going and stuff. But like, gotta add a little sparkle happiness, because it's like I'm sure if he was like your grandpa, you'd be like, "Oh, you weirdo!" Like, you would open
you yourself might be also weird, but yes,
yeah, exactly. You'd be totally weird, but you'd probably like, be
That's
posting.
My grandpa.
You get these like viral tweets being like, "My grandpa said this," like just get those kind of vibes from Charles Bukowski.
Yeah,
like, oh, you're like a crazy creepy grandpa. I love it.
I love it. Oh my god, that's hilarious.
And so that's why I thought spiked lemonade, essentially.
Yeah. Love it. Gonna have to have more of these this summer.
I know, it's a really easy, fun thing to do.
It's very refreshing.
Mm-hmm. You can make it, you could add a little spice to it, add a little like jalapeno or
that kind of
pepper.
Spice.
Yeah, exactly. You can get all sorts of crazy. So
I'm into it. And then let's just eat tacos.
And then let's just eat tacos.
And
yeah.
just be like,
fuck podcasting.
Fuck
let's just
everything.
eat tacos.
Let's just eat tacos. Tacos are really good.
Buy tacos.
Oh my god. But did you watch all of the Canadian show?
Leonard Kenny?
Leonard Kenny.
No, I haven't watched it all, but
okay, because there is an episode where they make fun of LA.
Yes.
And they make fun of LA by saying like, we're just gonna go eat tacos.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So
I
that's
have to watch
like
that.
Also quintessential from the fact that his quote has tacos involved. The fact that he's also from LA. It's
exactly.
Like that just adds that fun cherry on top.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like right.
He's very LA.
He's so LA. He's so like real LA. He's not what you see in movies, what you go to visit LA for. He's the real LA.
Yeah, exactly. When there's like those people who are talking about like, oh yeah, I've grown up in LA, my parents grew up in LA and this and that. You could probably say like, oh, Charles Bukowski to them, and they'd be like, that you will not have to talk to them for the next like half hour
They'll
because
just
they'll just talk.
Yeah.
And they'll probably think you're cool.
Yeah.
So
So so if you're not from LA, go to LA, eat some tacos, and then just mention Charles Bukowski, and you're solid. You're in.
Yeah, exactly. And then it'll be like, oh, I like that person. You don't even have to say anything. You can just be like, so what do you think of Charles Bukowski? And like,
Oh my God, I love it. Well, cheers to Charles.
yes, thanks for listening.
Thanks. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok.
That's about
Yeah, that's kind of all we do. We're really bad with our social media.
Yeah,
We're
reading books.
Lesley does her TikToks that are absolutely like gold, on point.
I tell you fun facts. Yay.
Yes, and she makes it fun with the fun facts. It's not just like a random fun fact. It's like she milks it, like the one with Louisa May Alcott.
Yeah,
Love that. You think you're introverted? Ha! Okay, bye.
Bye. Sources for this episode are Bukowski.net, poetryfoundation.org, a Vice interview with John Martin by Jonathan Smith, an LA Times article by Myrna Oliver, and Charles Bukowski's own written works.